I never expected that stepping into someone else's house would quietly shift something inside me. It all started on a warm summer day. I was heading to Tom's place, my best friend since we were kids. We'd planned to hang out, play some games, maybe order pizza, just let the afternoon melt away like it always did. I knocked, but no one answered. The door was slightly open, so I let myself in, assuming Tom was already inside. The house was quiet. Almost too quiet. The only thing I could hear was the soft hum of the fridge and the faint scent of coffee and vanilla drifting in from the kitchen. I walked through the hallway and nearly stopped in my tracks when she appeared in the doorway. Tom's mom, Lena. She was wearing a simple gray sweater and loose pants, her hair tied up casually in a bun. She looked peaceful, a little tired maybe, but radiant in that effortless way some women have when they're not trying to be anything but themselves. "Oh," she said softly, a little surprised. "Tom's not here. He ran out to the store. He should be back soon." "I'll wait, if that's okay," I replied, already feeling the warmth in my chest that I wouldn't acknowledge until much later. "Of course," she smiled, stepping aside. "Coffee's fresh if you want some." It was such a small gesture, but the way she said it, the calmness in her voice, it felt inviting. I nodded, followed her to the kitchen, and sat at the counter while she poured me a cup. There was no awkwardness. Just two people sharing a quiet moment in a sunlit room. We talked. Nothing deep. Nothing strange. Just about the weather, about college starting soon, about how fast time moved when you weren't looking. Her eyes lingered a bit longer on mine than I expected. And mine, well, they kept finding their way back to her hands, her face, the way her mouth curved when she spoke. When Tom came back 20 minutes later, it was like a spell broke. But something remained. Something I couldn't name yet. And neither could she. But from that day on, I noticed the space between us. And how it began to shrink. The next time I saw her, it wasn't planned. Tom had left me waiting at the cafe near their house, he forgot our meeting. Again. I called, and he apologized, but I said it was fine. I decided to walk back past his place, just to feel the air, maybe ease the sting of being forgotten. She was there. Lena. In her garden, pruning something with delicate hands. The same hands that held my coffee mug days ago. She looked up and smiled, squinting in the sun. Twice in 1 week? That's rare. Tom forgot, I admitted with a half-laugh. But it's okay. She set her shears down and wiped her hands on her jeans. He does that a lot lately. Want to come in? I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to, but because I did. Inside, the house felt cooler than the air outside. She poured iced tea this time. We didn't talk much. There wasn't a need. I watched how she moved, precise, unhurried, like someone who'd grown to enjoy the silence. She sat across from me. Not close, not far. Her elbow on the table, her fingers touching her lips in thought. And I stared too long. "I don't mind the company," she said, not meeting my gaze. "Some days feel quieter than others." "Yeah," I said softly, unsure what I was agreeing with, her loneliness, or mine. The moment lingered. A stillness that wasn't awkward. Just suspended. Like we both heard something no one had spoken. When I left, she touched my arm gently as she opened the door. "See you," she said. It was the first time her fingers had touched me. I felt it all the way home. It became a quiet habit. A pattern not planned, but not unwelcomed either. When I came by to see Tom and he wasn't home, which was often, I'd wait in the kitchen. Sometimes Lena would already have the kettle on, as if she'd sensed I'd come. She always made coffee just the way I liked it. No cream. A little sugar. It was a small thing, but it meant something. Something unspoken. We rarely talked about anything important. But we talked. Sometimes about old movies. Books she'd read. Music I liked. We'd sit in the kitchen or the sunroom and let the day pass in slow ripples. The kind of stillness you don't notice until it's gone. One afternoon, it rained. I remember the sound of it, soft, steady, tapping against the windows like a metronome for the quiet. She was wearing a navy cardigan that hung loose around her frame. She brought me a blanket, though I wasn't cold. "You look tired," she said. "Didn't sleep much," I admitted. She sat beside me on the couch. "Close, but not touching. You can rest here, if you want." So I did. I leaned back, let my eyes close, and listened to the rain. She didn't move. Just sat there. I could feel her presence like warmth in the room. Not heat, just comfort. When I opened my eyes, I turned slightly. Our faces were close. Too close, maybe. But neither of us moved. "I don't know what this is," I whispered. "I know," she said quietly. Then came the smallest motion, her hand brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. It lingered for a second longer than it needed to. We didn't kiss that day. But the silence between us said we would. It happened on a Sunday. Tom was out of town visiting family, and I was walking past their house, not planning to stop. But I did. Maybe it was instinct. Or maybe I wanted to see if she'd appear again, the way she did when I least expected. She was reading on the porch, legs curled up under her, glasses perched low on her nose. She looked up and smiled, as if she'd been expecting me. "Thought you might come by," she said. "I wasn't going to," I admitted. "I just did. I'm glad." She moved aside, patting the seat next to her. We sat close, shoulders almost touching. The sun was low, casting long golden lines across the porch. We didn't speak much. She read to me, just a passage from her book. Her voice calm, almost hypnotic. And I listened, not to the words, but to the space between them. When she closed the book, she turned to me. Her eyes searched mine, not for answers, just permission. And then she kissed me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was soft, certain, slow. A moment suspended in time, like the breath before a confession. My hand found hers instinctively. She squeezed gently, then pulled away just enough to whisper, "We shouldn't." "I know." But we didn't move. We stayed like that, heads close, breath mingling, hearts loud in the quiet, until the sky turned to dusk and the world felt far away. Later, I walked home under a sky that felt heavier than it had in weeks. Not in a painful way. Just full. Full of something unnamed, but deeply felt. We hadn't talked about what it meant. But both of us knew, something had changed. And it wouldn't be easy to go back. The days after the kiss were quieter. We didn't speak of it. We didn't plan anything. But something had shifted, not just between us, but inside us. I came by less. Not because I didn't want to, but because I knew what would happen if I kept showing up. And she knew it too. One late afternoon, I found myself standing outside their house again. I hadn't meant to. My feet simply brought me there. She opened the door before I even knocked. Her smile was softer this time. Tired, maybe. Or resigned. "I was just making tea," she said. I followed her into the kitchen. It felt both familiar and fragile, like stepping into a memory before it fades. We sat in silence, sipping slowly, as if neither of us wanted to speak the words we both knew were waiting. After a while, she finally looked at me. "We can't," she said, almost apologetically. "I know. I wish," she began, then stopped. A breath. A half smile. "I just wish I'd met you at a different time." So do I. I didn't cry. Neither did she. But I felt something leave me, like a thread being gently unspooled. We didn't touch. We didn't kiss. We just sat there until the tea went cold. Then I stood, and she walked me to the door. There was a long pause before she spoke again. "Thank you," she said. "For seeing me. I always will." The door closed quietly behind me. And that was our goodbye. Not loud. Not broken. Just, complete. It was a few months later. The seasons had changed, and so had I. There was a quietness in me now, not sadness, not regret, just a softness that hadn't been there before. I was back in town for the weekend and walking past her street. I didn't plan on stopping. I told myself I wouldn't. But when I saw her car in the driveway, I paused. Just for a moment. Just long enough to wonder. She was outside, watering the plants. Her hair was shorter. She looked lighter somehow, as if she'd let go of something that had been quietly pressing on her chest. She saw me. We both froze. Then, slowly, she smiled. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I echoed. She set the watering can down and wiped her hands on her pants, stepping toward me like we were just neighbors catching up. And maybe, in that moment, we were. "I didn't think I'd see you," she said. Neither did I. There was a pause, not awkward, not heavy. Just full. "I'm glad you're okay," she said softly. "I am." I hesitated, then added, "You look good." "So do you." We didn't talk long. Just a few minutes. We kept it simple, life updates, mutual friends, a shared joke about Tom never answering his phone. But the weight of that summer hovered between us. When I turned to leave, she touched my hand lightly. "I meant what I said," she told me. "Thank you." I nodded. "Me too." I didn't look back when I walked away. Not because I didn't want to. But because I knew it was right. Some stories don't end with fireworks or pain. Some just fade with grace, leaving a warmth that stays with you. And she did. In quiet moments, in the smell of coffee, in the hush of rain against a window, she stays. Not as a wound. But as something soft. Something true. Something I once had, just for a while. And always will, in the quiet part of me.